Hello there, fellow NPCs. I am Scythe, and today we're getting back into Everlasting Summer, and we are aiming for the Ulyana Path this time around. Hopefully, we manage to get no, we're going to finish day 5, and hopefully day 6 as well. We will see how well that goes, but we are not in the endings of her path yet. We have found Shurik, and now we're going to do something else. I don't know what's going to happen right now. It's been... Ulyana was never my favorite, in a sense. So I don't know what's going to happen during the path. All the important bits has happened already, as far as I know. But we will see where we end up. So, let's go. We ran. Ran with the last of our strength. Like those who run for their precious lives. Like a doomed person, knowing that there is no hope to save his life. Will still fight the inevitable and his own fate. I barely managed to close the heavy metal door behind me. Yeah, we've seen this. So I'll see you guys when we make an actual important choice. See you soon. Actually, we are picking up strawberries, and I guess we should go with Slavia this time around. I just have to make sure that I check how many points she actually has, because if we fail her, we could get a bad ending right off the bat with her. I didn't want to walk here alone and hope that Slavia would join me, but I couldn't bring myself to ask. Well, it's obvious. One basket for me and one for you two. No, let me go with you. Slavia smiled. Okay. I was a bit surprised, but I was also glad that it turned out like this. Lena seemed to take no offense at all. The reaping has commenced. The strawberries were delicious here indeed. I could probably eat them all if I didn't stop myself in time. Despite being wild grown, the berries were close to the garden ones in size and had rich color. So it was clear that our visit here wasn't in vain. Slavia wasn't walking right beside me as we had only one basket. I felt like a mushroom picker, looking under every shrub and searching through the grass carefully. Pay attention. An entire bunch of strawberries had been left behind. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. It's fine. You must enjoy being here, don't you? You like nature after all. Of course I do. Slavia smiled. It reminds me of my home. We have a similar beautiful birches there. She gazed dreamily somewhere into the distance. Look, I've always wanted to ask, what do you like in general? You look busy 24/7 and it seems like you have no time to rest at all. She started to think. I don't really know. Doing a variety of activities is enjoyable for me. Well, that's understandable, but still. I like knitting and sewing. Things like that. Slavia took a handkerchief out of her pocket. There were red, yellow and green flowers embroidered on it. They were entangled with each other in a complicated way, creating sophisticated geometric forms. Such a typical Russian handmade handkerchief. Glimpsing it, I instantly imagined Slavia dressed in an ancient sarafan, sitting on a bench out beside a ramshackle house with a crowd of playing children running around. It's quite cute. Thanks. Let me give it to you as a gift. Such a proposal embarrassed me. You shouldn't. No, take it. I looked at the handkerchief once again and put it into my pocket. Thank you. There were so many strawberries here that after a mere half hour we had the basket filled up to the brim. It seems we're done. Yes. We've got a lot in, so it should surely be enough. When we got back to the boat, Lena wasn't there. She'd need more time to fill the basket by herself. Yeah, I guess so. I looked at the river. Sun sparkles happily dancing across the water surface, where the only thing that distinguished it from a mirror. That's how calm the river seemed. What are you thinking about? Nothing really. And you? Me? What will happen once vacation is over? We'll have to leave this camp and go back to our homes. Will I ever see anyone I met her here again? Will I ever see you again? She looked at me with her eyes so full of sorrow that I couldn't think of that of what to say. Lena came out of nowhere, breaking the silence. Oh, you're done already. Here. She showed us a basket full of strawberries. Great. Now I can go back. And I still had Slavia's face and those words of hers on my mind. Sadness and sorrow weren't the kind of emotions typical of her. Could she be hiding them all the time under a mask of cheerfulness? I had no answer to the question, and I knew I couldn't find one either way. Maybe later. The way back took less time as I tried to concentrate on rowing and ignoring everything else. My only wish was to get back alive, as the first trip hadn't gone without consequences, and now my hands started to hurt after only a few sweeps of the oars. Having tied up the boat, I fell to the ground with no energy left. Slavia and Lena leaned over me. Ah, right, we've seen this part. So, unless... I don't think so, but maybe Slavia said something different here. You could have said something here if it was so hard for you. Yes. Never mind, it's fine. I just lie here for a bit and everything will be alright. Okay. Then get those baskets to Olga Mitrievna, please. We have something else to do. Okay, so she's gonna leave now. Yeah, sure. I was ready to agree with anything at that moment, just so I wouldn't have to get up. Which means that I will be seeing you guys real soon again. I just did some counting, and we're not gonna score enough points with Slavia in this round, so we're just gonna do the regular old stuff and stay on the Ulyana Path. So I'll see you at her next choice. Now we're doing something important here. We have had the cake. We have been looking around for places, and I don't know what we were looking around for because I just skipped ahead. But now we're out camping, and we have ignored Lena and Alyssa, and now we're going to go to Ulyana. But why, though? On the other hand, I felt sorry for Ulyana every time I recalled her upset face. What did happen to her? I made a few circles around our improvised camp, noticing the closer looks of the camp leader following me. Looks like Olga Dmitrievna couldn't wait to come up with some kind of new task for me. I haven't found Slavia anywhere. Maybe I should go and try and find her. On the other hand, I felt sorry for Ulyana every time I recalled her upset face. Okay, so this is where I was. I guess it's about her eating the cake or something like that then. Maybe this hike isn't the most entertaining thing ever, but sitting there all alone isn't any better either. But at the same time, I didn't want to go anywhere. So we're going to Ulyana. I didn't think about Ulyana that evening at all. That thing with the cake. Yeah, exactly. Like it didn't even happen. Though I remembered well her resentful, disappointed face. Maybe in some other situation I would never have decided to go to her, but now a fine reason to leave this place and this stupid hike has appeared. Recalling that Olga Dmitrievna told me to be prepared for new tasks, I decided not to ask for her permission, and after choosing a proper moment disappeared into the woods. Night fell on the camp. I mentally thanked the camp leader for not researching the land too well, since this meant civilization was only a few hundred meters away. Another long walk through the night forest was not in my plans. Soon I came to the square and hesitated. Would it look silly? What would I tell Ulyana? Moreover, why would I go to see her in the first place? My head was so heavy and full that there was no room for it in the development of any ideas. If I would compare my brain at its prime to a broad highway full of speeding thoughts overtaking each other and causing giant chaotic crashes, then now it's nothing but a forgotten tiny path in a distant desolate forest, which is only used in times of absolute necessity. So it's better not to think about anything and just act. But where should I go? Maybe to her cabin? And what if she's not there? All of a sudden, something knocked me down and I fell to the asphalt. It's a good thing I had time to stretch out my arms, otherwise I would have broken my nose. Gotcha! I quickly got up from the ground and saw Ulyana standing before me. What are you doing? I couldn't stop myself from shouting despite my best efforts. You shouldn't be stargazing, she answered viciously. What if I had smashed my nose or had broken my arm? I said more calmly. Jeez, I cannot get the hang of these voices. Tones, I mean. Well, neither of those happened. Look, why do you always mock me? I already regret my decision to try and ease her loneliness. Was today's punishment not enough for you? Can you even draw a simple conclusion? It's entirely your fault. The smile instantly disappeared from Ulyana's face. What, exactly, is my fault? Everything! You mean I am to blame all the time? Yes! She crossed her hands in front of her chest and turned away. Great. I suddenly wanted to get away from this place as fast as possible. But it was because of you I came here. What? I guess you're quite bored given that everybody's hiking and you're alone here. I don't care, she yelled cheerfully. Well, if things are that way, what do you want to do? What do you mean? Well, if you came here because of me... Such a thought hadn't occurred to me, although I don't really know what I came here for. After such a greeting, I no longer want to do anything. Then it's up to me to choose, said Ulyana cheerfully and started to think. I stared at her for some time, but then I couldn't stand it. Listen, if you are again planning to... I know! Let's scare the others. We'll dress up as ghosts, for example. It's going to be so fun. I didn't find this funny in any way. Well, you're boring as shit. Not to you know. Enough of that already. I began tiredly, but broke off. Maybe that's not such a bad idea. After all, by the time she thinks it over and gathers all she needs, Olga Dmitrievna and the pioneers will already be back. If I came here because of Ulyana, then I need to play along. Perhaps you're right. What? She was looking at me with her eyes wide open. Are you going to agree just like that? Well, what's so wrong about that? And furthermore, if you insist... She studied me attentively for several seconds and then rattled off. Excellent! Then we need some bedsheets. Want to look like real ghosts, don't we? Probably. You go get them, Ulyana announced imperiously. Where do you think I'm going to get them? Take them from your cabin, obviously. It wasn't that obvious to me. So, you don't want to? She instantly made a gloomy face. Okay. I recall the fact that there was a spare set of bed linen in Olga Dmitrievna's wardrobe, so maybe there was nothing to worry about. We approached the camp leader's cabin and I said to Ulyana, "Wait for me here." "Sir, yes sir!" She rattled off and saluted me. It seemed Ulyana was entirely immersed in the game. I quickly found 2 clean white bedsheets. It's a shame they're going to get smudged. Here, take it. I handed one of the bedsheets to her. It's too large for me, Ulyana said after twirling it in her hands. No wonder, considering her height. Give it to me. I folded the bedsheet in half and gave it back to her. It's much better now. Follow me. She put the white cloth over her head and ran into the forest. Wait! I threw myself after her. Ooh, that's a good image. Just a few minutes later, we were near the pioneer's campfire, hiding behind the trees. Now it was clear that the trick, harmless at first, was taking an unpleasant twist. For some reason, I was sure from the start that the hike would end before Ulyana took any action, and now we were standing 10 meters away from the pioneers, dressed in bedsheets. We didn't look frightening at all, rather we looked comical. Get ready, on my command! Wait! Actually, I was joking when I agreed to all this. Think again, it won't do any good. You will get yourself put under house arrest until the end of the shift. And so will I. No retreat, no surrender! Are you ready? On the count of 3. I started scrolling through all the possible outcomes in my head feverishly. There weren't many of them. First one, me and Ulyana run out from behind the trees and start the pioneers laughing, resulting in me getting a considerable scolding from the camp leader, and possibly something even worse. And Ulyana is sentenced to the highest measure of punishment feasible under the laws of the pioneer camp. Second one, I stay here and observe with the others how Ulyana runs through the glade in a bedsheet. She is sentenced to the highest measure, like in the first option, and I stay in relative safety. Third one, I do everything possible to prevent her from committing this act of moral vandalism, and no one suffers but her self-esteem. It all could have gone so well, but either of those thoughts took more than 3 seconds or Ulyana shortened the count, so I hadn't managed to pull myself together in time when she sprang out in the glade screaming inhumanely. Well, shit. As expected, all the pioneers laughed loudly. Someone even fell from the log he was sitting on and started rolling on the ground. It's unfortunate though that everyone seems to be actually scared in the image. I tried to save the day and yelled as loud as possible so Ulyana would hear me, but not the others. Fool, stop it! Come here! She's crying? Why, she's sad. I don't know whether it was my persuasion that worked or Ulyana understood that her performance had failed. Okay, but she ran in my direction quickly and, without pausing, hid herself in the forest. I didn't hesitate to follow her. Such a finale left a tiny chance that she won't be punished again. It's good that I didn't join in on that tragicomical act. Now I need to find Ulyana. It turned out to be not that hard, as she hadn't managed to get far. Ulyana was sitting on a tree stump, crying. I stood still, hesitating. Of course, such an outcome was to be expected, but now I had absolutely no idea of what to do or how to comfort her. Besides, I'd gone back to the camp intentionally, and I had agreed to participate in that show. But it just got worse. As well as that, I was tired unto death. At that moment, I wished it would all just cease to exist. I just wanted to close my eyes and appear elsewhere, preferably in a quiet and peaceful place. But the sight of the sobbing Ulyana obliged me to take action. I walked up to her and sat down on the ground. Well, what were you expecting anyway? I began philosophically. It was sure to end up this way. You're to blame for everything! You! Ulyana shouted in tears. So, what would have changed if I had sprung out with you back there? We both would have been laughed at, that's all. You always act this way. Always. Her sobbing was becoming louder and louder, and then she suddenly rushed at me and started pounding on my chest with her fists. The hits were not hard. It was more likely an attempt to take out the despair that had gripped Ulyana than a real wish to beat me up. Calm down already, I said firmly. She stopped crying for a second and hugged me. Maybe nothing would have changed, but it would have been more comfortable for me if we went together. I didn't know what to say, so I just patted her on the head. Can I stay like this for a bit longer? Yes. At that time she didn't seem like a dangerously explosive nuclear reactor in the form of a little girl, but just like a little sister of mine who'd messed things up. I wasn't mad at her at all. On the contrary, it seemed I too was beginning to care about the failure of the ghost play acting. It's alright. It's alright. We'll scare them properly next time. Yeah. I don't know for how much longer we sat in silence. Ulyana stopped crying, and I didn't want to disturb her, as she had just calmed down. But I also had absolutely no desire to stay in the forest overnight. Hey, let's get back to camp. I shook her shoulder gently, but there was no answer. Ulyana had fallen asleep. Hey! I shook her harder. No effect. At that moment, I wanted to cry. Why does this always happen to me? Why do I get caught up in these foolish situations? Always and everywhere. Even having suddenly appeared in a weird pioneer camp in the middle of nowhere, I don't get to become a subject in an experiment, a victim of sick cosmic mind, or a participant in an intergalactic war on the side of a group of suicide-prone pacifists, like a regular hero of science fiction. No, instead I have to spend the night in a forest with a little girl in my arms who is muffled in a bedsheet. Next time, I'd rather have the monstrous experiments. I stood up and put the sleeping Ulyana on my back. Maybe there was a way to wake her up, but firstly, I didn't want to, and secondly, one more burden or one less. At that point, it made no difference. It's good that she's not heavy. At the square I stopped, put Ulyana on a bench and threw myself beside her, totally exhausted. Even a little girl is hard to carry for too long. The stars in the sky were shining brightly. Perhaps they give their light not only to me in this camp, but also shine on the city where I was born, and where my old home is. It was as if pain had settled in my chest. Wait, what? Okay. I envisioned my old flat clearly, and a detestable burning started to make its way from my stomach to my throat. No, it was not wistfulness. More like a sad reminiscence. Because despite all that's happened, I felt more alive in less than 5 days here than I had for the last several years there. And now, I really wasn't sure I wanted to get back. Yeah, so that's what I think Ulyana is. Their will to actually want to do things. It's one thing that you don't want to be at home stuck, that you want to meet people, but Ulyana is activity. Their will to do something fun. Only one question still ate at me. How and why I ended up here. It flared up yet again in my mind. I haven't spent much time seeking answers or even just thinking about my situation lately. My thoughts were occupied with everyday routine affairs. And now, in order to break away from it and be able to wish to stay here for good, I need to understand the nature of this place. It's just that even a nightingale in a golden cage has a right to know how and by whose will he got in there. And after that, to make the choice whether to stay or not. I don't know how much longer I would have been devoted to existential thought, but Ulyana's loud snoring brought me back to reality. So small, but she snores so loudly. I sighed, put Ulyana on my back and I headed back to her cabin. I had no desire to explain everything to Alyssa, so I just put the sleeping Ulyana on the porch, knocked on the door and left quickly. I approached Olga Dmitrievna's cabin with mixed feelings. On the one hand, I had done what I intended to do. I had comforted her and entertained Ulyana. On the other hand, the 2 crumpled bedsheets in my hands looked more like rags left over from some worn-out straitjacket. I opened the door softly and went in. Semyon! Olga Dmitrievna was sitting at the desk, and it seemed she had been waiting for me. Do you want to explain something to me? Well, just don't scold her again. It's my fault. Just like that I become a hero, to my own surprise. My tongue acted faster than my thoughts. Perhaps some of my best traits, which even I wasn't aware of, have shown themselves. Humanity as opposed to common sense. Really? Having started this, I chose to stick to my decision. Well, it was me who got the bedsheets, and I was standing behind that tree back then. Behind what tree? The camp leader looked at me in astonishment. Are we not talking about the same thing? So what did you need bedsheets for? I realized my mistake. So you're not talking about the forest thing? Semyon, I don't understand you. I wanted to know where you disappeared to so mysteriously during the hike, but now I would be interested in listening to your bedsheet story. But it was impossible that she and all the others hadn't seen Ulyana's performance. The pioneers laughing out loud couldn't have been only my imagination. Olga Dmitrievna, I'm serious. Didn't you see someone in a bedsheet spring out at you recently? So it was you. She gave me a close look. No, it wasn't me. Couldn't she tell just from my height? But you're holding the bedsheets. Yes. I couldn't understand if she was playing me for a fool, or she really didn't know what this was all about. Olga Dmitrievna, let's act like this conversation never happened. I'm too tired for today. Alright, go to bed. To my surprise, she readily agreed. Of course, I was astonished by such a reaction, but I decided to use the moment. I wrapped the blankets around myself and turned to face the wall. But I couldn't sleep. There were no thoughts, my head was aching, but I still couldn't manage to fall asleep. I rolled to the other side, and images of the day started to flash before my eyes. I shut my eyes tight to drive them away, but it didn't work. Suddenly, I heard a knocking on the window. Olga Dmitrievna seemed to be asleep. I dressed myself and walked outside. Ulyana was standing before me with a tricky smile. How did you manage to carry me to the cabin? Wasn't it hard? Not really. What have you come for? I couldn't sleep, but at that moment bed seemed to be the only place where I could reside with no suffering, which is why Ulyana's sudden visit didn't please me at all. How was she? Did you get scolded? No, I avoided it somehow. That's great then. I always get lucky. That's for sure. My eyes began closing despite my will. It seems that slumber has finally come upon me. Look, I'm very tired. This won't take long. Close your eyes. It was the easiest thing to do, and I didn't even know what she needed it for. Maybe that way she would leave me alone sooner. I closed my eyes. Yeah. And in that moment I felt a brief kiss. My eyes opened by themselves, but Ulyana was already running away, waving her hand at me. I stood still, benumbed? What the hell is that word? And I couldn't even manage to shout anything after her. I don't know for how long I stood like that, but eventually the night chill cleared my stupor. I shivered and went back to bed. This time I didn't want to sleep. I wanted to think it all through, but my eyes, which had begun to close as I was standing before Ulyana, seemed to issue a command to the rest of the body, and I fell asleep before I realized what happened. And now we're entering day 6 of the Ulyana Path. So yeah, that will be it for today's episode. So, I do remember what the endings look like, the epilogues, but I don't remember what we're going to be doing before that. So this feels very new to me as well. Well, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. And thank you, Josef, for donating directly to my Ko-fi page. If you guys want to help me out, you can do so by clicking the link down in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.